So do you know that in Vermont there is a UCC minister who can do the whole book of Mark by memory? He does it as show. He has his guitar and he has some drums and he recites the entirety of the book of Mark from beginning to end, which is a remarkable feat. But no more remarkable than me preaching on these 10 verses. Because these 10 verses are a synopsis of the entire Gospel of Mark. It talks about the cup, which is a foreshadowing of Jesus at Gethsemane, praying to God to have this cup taken away from him. Talks about baptism, which is how the book of Mark starts, with John baptizing Jesus in the Jordan River. And then it tells us exactly what Jesus' birth and life and death and resurrection is about. Service to all humankind. And so I am here going to preach to you on all of that this morning. So pray for me. Let me give you a little background. There's a little piece between the sermon of Denny's last week and this passage today, and it is Jesus telling his disciples and some of his followers that they're on their way to Jerusalem, where he is going to be arrested, condemned, killed, and rise again. Now, this is the third time Jesus has said this in the book of Mark. And each time that this happens, the disciples respond with this entirely inappropriate response. In this case, it's his cousins, James and John, that say, "Now, look, Jesus, we've given up a lot for you, and we're your family, so we need a little respect. So when you come into your glory, we want the power positions." Now, isn't that the human condition? Isn't that us right there? It is amazing how ego-driven each one of us, at least certainly I am. And so Jesus once again says, really? Really, this is what you want? Well, if this is what you really want, you need to follow me. Let me lay out the steps. And so he speaks in metaphor, as we know. And so he says, you have to drink of this cup. You have to be baptized with my baptism. And you must live your life as a slave to all. And that's exactly what we need to do as Christians. Now it's spoken in metaphor, and metaphor is open to interpretation. So this is Sandra's interpretation of those metaphors at 10:45 on October 18th, 2015. We'll see what it might be tomorrow, but this is what you get today. The cup. I think that the cup is our life, is your life. It is all the joy, all the suffering, all the tragedy, all the celebration. And God is asking us to drink deeply of that cup. And that is more easily said than done. I have two friends. they each have 2 grown daughters, one of which, of each friend, one daughter has lost their husband, leaving them with small children. And they each have a daughter who has a child with a developmental disability challenge. And these 2 women have responded incredibly differently to these set of events in their own cup of life. My first friend can't go there. She just can't go there. She can't live into what life has given her. And it has made her angry and bitter and pretty superficial. Nice woman, but she just can't look at her life the way it is because it's not supposed to be that way. And my other friend, with almost this exact same circumstances, has drunk so deeply of this cup of life, has struggled with what life has given her. And do you remember my sermon about I won't let go until you give me a blessing? She has done that with her life. And she has allowed these difficult life circumstances to cultivate compassion inside of her. And so she can really be there for her daughters in a way that this other woman can't be. And this second friend of mine is one of the most joy-filled women I know. Because she has allowed this to work within her heart. She has drunk deeply of that cup of life. And she can share her compassion and joy with everyone she meets. And so that's, I think, our first lesson, is we need to drink from that cup of life, to allow the difficulties that we face to cultivate within us compassion. Jesus certainly did that. He drank of that cup of life so fully, and I imagine he was one of the most joy-filled people you could ever meet, and certainly the most compassionate. Now, the next thing that Jesus asked us to do is to be baptized with the same baptism. Which brings us to the very beginning of the book of Mark, in which Jesus goes down to the Jordan River, where John the Baptist is, and he is baptized, and they hear a voice from above that says, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." So Jesus says that we need to be baptized with that same baptism. So here it goes. My name is Sandra, and I am a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. That's apparently hard for me to say, because I can tell you a bunch of reasons why that isn't true. But Jesus tells me it is. I am a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. Chad, you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. Feel that in your heart. Thank you. Susan, you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. Lee, you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. Thank you. This lovely couple back here, you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. I don't have all day, but Mr. Auer, you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. Feel that in your heart. Feel that in your heart, and know, Steve Miltimore, that you are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased. And all of you up there, do you know it? Can you feel that? How does that change your life? Can you step into those waters of your baptism and claim that? And when you claim that, can you understand that every single other person on earth who has ever lived and will ever live is a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased? And that's what being a Christian means, to step into that and claim that and act and deal with other people from that place. So your boss, guess what? He's a beloved child of God. Your employees, they are beloved children of God. That pain in your patootie neighbor is a beloved child of God. That person who has hurt you more than anyone in the world that you cannot even think about is a beloved child of God. This Christianity thing, it gets hard, doesn't it? It gets hard. Because now we have this third thing. I mean, 1 and 2, I guess I'm okay with 1 and 2, but number 3, I am so immersed in this culture, I can't even get my mind around what this third thing is that Jesus asks of us. It is to be a slave to others, to lead by being a servant. So in discussions, in preparation for this sermon, I talked to my esteemed colleagues, and I'm like, I need a story. Denny, I need a story. He's good with stories. And so he said, well, I knew this guy. He was a doctor of some sort and a professor at a medical school. And he, out of the generosity of his heart, would always make chicken soup for anyone who was ever sick that he worked with, even the janitor. And I'm sure Denny could tell that story much better than I just did. And I thought, that is a lovely story, and that is not what I'm looking for. And then Dawn was really sweet, and she said, well, you know, Sandra, you used to be a lawyer, and you gave that up to become a minister. And I'm like, well, that's really sweet of you to say, but I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. So that's not what I'm looking for. And then I thought of the Pope. He's a good guy. You gotta love the Pope. He's given up all the trappings of his position, and he's having lunch with homeless people, and he's disciplining bishops that live extravagantly. But that didn't seem to be it either. So then I Googled humility and leadership. And I found the Harvard Business Review and the Wall Street Journal telling leaders that they must cultivate humility within themselves so that they can inspire their employees to increase productivity to make sure the bottom line is higher. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's it either. So I got to this place that maybe, although there's no clearly a pattern you have to follow, maybe it's much bigger than what I am allowing myself to think about. Maybe it's exactly what Jesus said, that we have to open ourselves so deeply to that Spirit of God and get rid of all those ego trappings so entirely that it doesn't matter who our friends are or what house we live in or how much money we make or whether we're the boss or we are selling sodas on the sidewalk. Maybe it is giving up all of that ego identity to serve others. And you know, you guys, I can't do that. I am nowhere near being able to do that. But I am not going to throw in the towel, because there are some things I can do. I can drink deeply of that cup of life that is uniquely mine. I can let my life experiences cultivate compassion and joy. And I can share that compassion and joy knowing that I am a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased. And I'm going to start treating all of you like you are too. And I'm going to start treating some other people that perhaps I haven't looked at that way as beloved children of God. And I'm going to work on expanding that circle. And then maybe organically and naturally, those ego trappings will start to slough off. And perhaps, with time, I will be able to be a slave to you. Maybe you want to give it a try with me too. Amen.